What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Friday, January 20th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at this 9-game NBA slate. So at the point guard position, there's 3 point guards that I like here tonight, all around the same price. The first one is De'Aaron Fox from the Sacramento Kings playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 7th worst defense overall. They're middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. De'Aaron Fox has averaged 40.6 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 33 minutes per game with a 29% usage rate. He's projected at 40.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's $8,200 DraftKings salary, 100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 239 points scored in this game. And De'Aaron Fox has scored 46, 29, and 39 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 39, 36, and 33 minutes. And De'Aaron Fox scored 57 fantasy points in his last game versus the Thunder. So I like De'Aaron Fox here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. I also like Darius Garland from the Cleveland Cavaliers playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 8th worst defense overall, give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Darius Garland has averaged 39.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 40 fantasy points here tonight, just about 5 times value, $8,100 DraftKings salary, 400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227.5 points scored in this game. And Darius Garland has scored 58, 59, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He played 38, 40, and 34 minutes in those games. He's got a pretty decent track record here versus Golden State. Scored over 35 fantasy points 3 out of the last 5 games. Although we want him to score 40 fantasy points or more here tonight, and he's been hot the past couple of games, playing monster minutes with monster production in a good matchup. So I like Darius Garland here versus the Golden State Warriors. Now I also like DeJounte Murray from the Atlanta Falcons playing the New York Knicks, who have a middle of the pack defense overall, give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. DeJounte Murray has averaged 40.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 25% usage rate. He's projected at 43.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.5 times value. He's $7,800 DraftKings salary, 800 more on FanDuel, so I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 231 points scored in this game, and DeJounte Murray has scored 48, 51, and 49 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 35, and 38 minutes. So I like DeJounte Murray, who scored, he scored 70, 42, 37, and 40 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Knicks. So I like DeJounte Murray here versus the New York Knicks. Got some good point guards on the slate. Jamal Murray, He's only 6,600 DraftKings salary. He scored 41 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 33 and 30 minutes. I think he could be a good value play here, averaging 34.3 fantasy points per game on the season. Going to be playing in a game that Vegas thinks there's going to be 239.5 points scored in this game. Decent matchup here versus the Pacers, who have the 6th worst defense overall, middle of the pack defending opposing point guards. So I also like Jamal Murray here versus the Indiana Pacers. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. Well, you could play DeJounte Murray as a shooting guard, but I got a value play here for you. So let's see if Donovan Mitchell is out here tonight. Take a look at Isaac Okoro from the Cleveland Cavaliers playing the Golden State Warriors, who have the 8th worst defense overall, give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Isaac Okoro, he scored 28, 22, and 20 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 28, and 15 minutes. He's only 3,700 DraftKings salary, 700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 227.5 points scored in this game. And if Donovan Mitchell is out, Isaac Okoro is projected at 20 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.4 times value. So I like Isaac Okoro if Donovan Mitchell is out here versus the Golden State Warriors. So another play that I like here at the shooting guard position is Desmond Bane from the Memphis Grizzlies playing the LA Lakers, who have the 2nd worst defense overall, middle of the pack defending opposing shooting guards. Desmond Bane has averaged 36.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 27% usage rate. He's projected at 33.7 fantasy points here tonight. I think he can score 35 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 7,000 DraftKings salary, 900 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 241.5 points scored in this game. So it looks like this could be a good game to stack. And Desmond Bane has scored 40, 45, and 46 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 32, 26, and 29 minutes. And he scored 41, 33, 39, and 36 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Lakers. So I like Desmond Bane here versus the LA Lakers. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like RJ Barrett from the New York Knicks playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 5th worst defense overall, give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. RJ Barrett has averaged 32.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 26% usage rate. He's projected at 34 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 6,500 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 231 points scored in this game. And RJ Barrett has scored 33, 43, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 49, and 26 minutes. So he scored 25, 35, 54, 39, and 21 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Hawks. He's averaging 0.95 fantasy points per minute. So it all comes down to how many minutes is he going to play. If he can play 35 minutes or more, I'm pretty confident he can score 34 fantasy points or more and get you 5.2 times value or more. So I like RJ Barrett here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, another small forward that I like is Luguentz Dort from the Oklahoma City Thunder, playing the Sacramento Kings, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Luguentz Dort has averaged 26 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 24.9 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's 5,000 DraftKings salary, 700 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 239 points scored in this game, and Luguentz Dort has scored 44, 33, and 18 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 28, 35, and 24 minutes. And Luguentz Dort has scored 32 and 36 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Kings. So I like Luguentz Dort here versus the Sacramento Kings. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Memphis Grizzlies, playing the LA Lakers, who have the second worst defense overall, give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Jaren Jackson Jr. has averaged 35.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 26 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 38 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's 7,300 DraftKings salary, 900 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 241.5 points scored in this game. And Jaren Jackson Jr. has scored 38, 46, and 32 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 28, 25, and 21 minutes. And he scored 53, 30, and 37 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Lakers. So I like the matchup. I think he's got some pretty good upside here tonight. I wish that he played an average of 30 minutes or more, but he is averaging 1.39 fantasy points per minute while he's on the floor. So even if he only plays 25 to 30 minutes here tonight, he should be able to hit value. So I like Jaren Jackson Jr. here versus the LA Lakers. Another power forward that I like, also eligible at the small forward position, is Harrison Barnes from the Sacramento Kings, playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 7th worst defense overall, middle of the pack defending opposing power forwards. Harrison Barnes has averaged 26.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate, projected at 25.4 fantasy points here tonight. But I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more in this matchup and get you 5 times value or more. He's 5,900 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 239 points scored in this game, and Harrison Barnes has scored 31, 38 and 44 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 40, 38, and 36 minutes. So monster minutes and really good production the last 3 games. And he scored 36 and 50 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Thunder. So I like Harrison Barnes here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, moving on to the center position. Who do we have for you here at the center position? We have Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have a good defense overall, and surprisingly they've been good versus opposing centers. Walker Kessler has averaged 22.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 20 minutes per game. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 38, 57, and 37 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 28, 31, and 31 minutes. It looks like Kelly Olynyk is out, so Walker Kessler getting some extra action and taking full advantage of every minute he's on the court. Wow, he's averaging 1.15 fantasy points per minute. So I think he can score around 30 fantasy points here tonight, get you 5 times value or more. He's $5,700 DraftKings salary, $2,200 more on FanDuel, so I'll pass on that FanDuel price. But I love that DraftKings price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 228.5 points scored in this game. So I like Walker Kessler here versus the Brooklyn Nets. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.